Hi, I'm Dennis Weiss for Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. And today we're going to do a special 2015 wrap-up. And I have my friend James Holland, who happens to be the Executive Director of the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
You look spiffy, ready for business.
Thank you.
This
So do
morning.
you. So do you. Absolutely.
Well, we're always ready for business.
Dress the part.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, I thought as we get ready to look at 2016, let's look back at 2015, talk about our town and your show, which is all about business in Abilene. Now let's put those two things together and talk about what happened and where we're going. Sounds like a good idea?
Sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
2014 ended with a thud.
Yeah, there was
100 and how old was Alco? 138 years, something like that.
Yeah,
long time. Alco declared bankruptcy and started a process of exiting completely our fair community, and that was a big thud for us.
This was absolutely.
So you know, we have a corporate headquarters downtown. We had store number 1 uptown, and we have huge warehouse on the edge of town. As I look back at the start of 2015, there were a lot of people saying, I wonder what we're going to do. Well, the good news is we know a lot about what we did in 2015. So the corporate headquarters is now owned by Thunderstruck Bumpers, and they're doing great things over there, including manufacturing bumpers.
Absolutely.
Great Plains Theater is in that building. There's a new facility to host gatherings of people in that building, and more to come, I'm told.
Yep.
How great is that?
Well, I'll tell you what, coming into, you know, when Alco, even before 2014, you know, there were rumblings that Alco was going to be sold, and that had been going on for quite a while. And I was in economic development for the city at the time, and I don't know, I always maybe came up with this eternal optimistic viewpoint after trying to go after other businesses to come to town. It was always, well, we just simply don't have the facilities. And I always believe that a good asset will always be employed. Shortly after.
Agreed.
And
Free market principles say.
That's right. It'll be liquidated, it'll be reemployed, and that's kind of what happened, particularly with the retail store, with Shopco coming into town and providing a very similar product than there was prior. And of course, you mentioned the corporate headquarters being a little bit of an adaptive reuse in parts of it with the Great Plains Theater, which needed a good location, so that's worked out beautifully. And then Thunderstruck, of course, welcoming them to the community, and I would, as of now, there's a lot about that business I would like to learn, and I'll get with the owners of that company here in the near future to visit with them about it. But yeah, there's positive things going on there. The warehouse, Orscheln's, purchased the warehouse at a liquidation auction, and as of yet, their plans for that are unknown. I think there's been some discussions of where it fits into their operation, and so we still have that asset that's there, and it will be employed at some point, hopefully in 2015.
And in 2015, it's back on the tax rolls of somebody who's going to pay the bill.
Right. Yeah.
Couldn't really design much better outcome than that for those 3 facilities in our town. At the end of 2014, we couldn't have imagined it would have happened that fast and that well.
Well, that's sort of what I figured was going to happen.
Okay.
But like I said, those assets will be reemployed, and you know, the warehouse is still the big piece out there, and you know, when that was in operation, they probably hired 200 people out there. Where Alco, it may or may not, you know, in the future hire that many people out there doing whatever it will be. But rest assured, we need the jobs, and there's an asset that's going to provide it at some point.
You mentioned that you don't believe an asset will go unemployed, and I said free market principle. Well, part of that concept of free market principle is the unknown, or the variable, if you will, is time. We don't know when it will be employed.
Right.
But if we allow the market to work, somebody will find a use for something that's of value, an asset.
Absolutely.
So here we sit. There are many communities that would be very envious of how fast that turned, though. probably very close to us.
Yeah, perhaps.
So what a tremendous thing that Thunderstruck chose Abilene.
Absolutely.
And Shopko chose Abilene. And Orscheln's chose Abilene, if only today, for a future investment.
Correct.
We're very fortunate to have that happen. So your shows that Abilene means business. Boy, that's proof of that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
2015. We started in 2015 at Eagle. We had a great year in 2014. We've had a great year in 2015. But man, has the world changed in 2015. There's a lot of moving parts in the telecommunications business. You know, we saw the FCC tell us that the internet needed to be free and open, and then they put about 1,000 pages and not quite so free and not quite so open on top of that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're looking at that, and how do we adapt, and how do we adjust to that. And I can say there hasn't been a lot of change for us in 2015, but there's still 1,000 pages sitting on it. So change will happen somewhere along the way unless somebody changes something again.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's my business. You stay very well tuned into the entrepreneurs in our community. So tell us a little bit about what you think about 2015 and entrepreneurial business.
I think just some highlights from this past year that I think kind of show. When I look back at 2015, what I see is a year of this community resetting a lot of things. And we talked about some of the major key assets. But I think there's some other things that are kind of resetting. I'd say the housing market, for instance, you know, where at this point, housing starts, new construction is way down. But I think overall prices for housing has probably stabilized. Even it's at a lower level than it was, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. Rents have also kind of tapered down probably about 10%, is just kind of my guess. But at the same time, we're not having properties sit vacant, and that's just my experience from the real estate side of things. So there's still people out there looking for places. I think that's positive. I think some other positives we've seen is growth in some of the existing businesses in town. You know, Rawhide Portable Corral out on Washington, they added a second shift earlier this year. Abilene Machine out west of town here, while they haven't done a whole lot at this location, well they did, maybe it was early in 2015, they finished a significant addition onto their warehouse, and they also built a brand new facility up in South Dakota that they're supplying out of this location. So there's some positive things happening there as well. So you know, if you just look around, you know, there are people adding jobs. And our vacant buildings downtown, they continuously seem to be reemployed. And one of the interesting things I always hear is you know, they'll see one business close or two, and they'll be like, oh no, everything's, you know, and I'm always like, you know, I always see things on the positive side, because that always represents an opportunity for somebody else. And something will stick. An
opportunity in a great location for somebody else.
Absolutely.
You know, I guess part of our job in front of the camera for both our town and Abilene Means Business is to talk about the positive benefits of where we live and where we work. But that's easy to do because we're here. This is
for some people it's not that
that's
easy.
That's right. There are some people that are not there. But you know, the reality of it is Abilene has a lot to offer for people who want to live, work, or play in Abilene, Kansas, and the area. You talk about Abilene Machine, and it's out in the country a little ways, and you know, so the only thing that's Abilene is their name. Well, not so much. Their employees are Abilene. It's Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce that you're the executive director of, and that goes both ways. That goes out to Dickinson County that way, and it goes over to Ottawa County that way, and even some Saline County members. So if we look at that, it's a huge thing that Abilene Machine opened a new business, a new location in South Dakota. That adds revenue and profitability to that company, and that helps us grow.
That's right.
That's a terrific thing. Also in 2015, DS&O opened up their new facility in the Solomon industrial area, which also has connection to Abilene Machine. And the city of Solomon's investment in that infrastructure. All of that is new growth that's healthy for our community on the tax rolls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right. What about small business? What about the smaller business? You talk to people on behalf of the chamber. What are they telling you about 2015?
Well, I think 2015 was, once again, a leveling off year. I think since about 2005, 2006, no, man, a little later, 2009, seems to be a point where business started to slow down quite a bit for some of our smaller companies, but it's leveled off, and I think some of them are seeing sales greater than they have in previous years. So I think we're definitely on the upswing there. Lots of them coming and going, as there always is in business. For every 10 startups, 9 will fail. But while they're active, they're doing things and providing services. So all those things are positive. I think the one thing that's the greatest pressure on local small town business right now, and there are those people who will perennially complain about it, but legitimately I can say property tax is becoming it's definitely a bellwether issue right now. It's something that may put some public projects on hold until some of those things come off and the businesses can better afford it.
I'll say it a different way. It's either an issue or there's more focus on it, because I also am hearing from more people about it, which means it's either a real problem or the attention being paid to it has at least raised their interest.
Yeah, it's at the point where it's gone beyond the theoretical. I mean, they're really, small businesses, when they get that tax bill and they have to pay it, it really does make it hard to make payroll at this point for a lot of them. So, when you have those choices to make as a small business, that's,
Well, there's two
tough.
things. Taxes, I suppose there are people, I think Mr. Biden volunteered that he'd like to pay more taxes. Good for him, but I don't know anybody else that really wakes up in the morning saying, I just love to pay more taxes. We like better services and we don't mind sharing, but nobody says, I want more taxes. But tax is a two-component process. One is valuation, and then taxation based on valuation. The value of commercial property are some of the complaints that I've heard.
Oh, absolutely.
My valuation went up, therefore I write more tax money. The complaint is not about the value, it's about the tax. So it's a good thing for us theoretically that our commercial valuations are going up, but that means if they're going up correctly. And I get, as a business owner, I see the bottom line reflection of the value of my business going up. In other words, I should notice my value went up before the county tax assessor should.
That's right. And commercial property is evaluated differently than residential. And for instance, someone very close to me, my wife, for instance, and this is the example. Property tax, the actual valuation went up 80%. But we're not seeing the business that justifies that increase because the value of commercial property is in part based on the profitability of that piece of real estate. And so unless your bottom line's gone up 80%, how do you justify an 80% on the property tax side?
The unfortunate part of all things government when it comes to taxation is cyclically, or value is cyclically balanced. So, the county's under obligation to assess all property, 1/6 of all property a year.
The state really dictates how they assess it. So
and commercial is strictly at the designator of the state. So we move in concert with other people, and it's all supposed to work out for good things. What the local business guy cares about is he able to open business tomorrow? Is a result of his efforts able to provide for him the revenue he needs to accomplish life in the way he wants. End of story. If taxes intrude on that, then taxes become a problem. And you're hearing from people that maybe yes.
I hear, and you always hear those people, like I said, perennially who complain about property tax. But you know, I'm hearing it from people who haven't complained before, you know, and
I
so
am as well.
it puts it back up on the front burner, and like I said, there may be some public projects that are you know, put on hold for that reason. Speaking about public projects, though, here in Abilene, talk about quality of life. The Eisenhower Elementary School was fully constructed this year.
That's right.
And,
it's almost done.
Yeah, an expansion of the middle school and an expansion of the high schools underway.
That was bare dirt at the end of 2014.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
very
somebody's
cool.
mowing headache, and so now it's. But yeah, that's. I think they're moving in.
They are
That's my
over
understanding.
the Christmas to New Year's break. They're moving books, desks, and computers. I think.
Yep. So
that's very cool.
So it's going to be exciting to get into that new facility for the elementary school kids of that age, and
it's kind of funny. My wife and I went to Vespers and to the music and band staff at Abilene High School. Wow, thank you for what you do for our kids. What a great performance. So Dr. Guy and her husband and a couple of daughters sat down by us, and my wife sitting next to me, who had just moved all of Great Plains 3 times.
Right.
Now, so what was left, and so on and so forth, says to Dr. Guy, said, so you have a couple of weeks vacation? And Denise looked at her and said, we're moving into Eisenhower. So no,
we're moving
all of this stuff. And I had to laugh because we have been there, done that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's progress. And that happened in 2015.
Yep.
Can I say another thing about that?
Sure.
Gosh, I'm so glad to see the Eisenhower name on that school. Partially because I like and think a lot of Dwight David Eisenhower and his presidential library and the people that have put their lives into making that institution great. But partly because I think it's smart. I think it's good branding. It's a great decision. I just applaud the people who had the courage to make it. Very cool.
So you're not a purist in terms of staying with assassinated presidents.
No. I could skip over that one. It wouldn't bother me much.
Okay. Well, that's.
Yeah, that's a curious thing to honor.
Yeah.
People who've died on the job in a really rough way.
Yep.
Okay. So before we digress into pure political talk, 2015 locally, political actions we're setting in the city library, the Abilene Public Library, which is a wonderful place.
Yep.
This improvement we're in was funded with a sales tax issue that also got our pool modernized.
Pool was done, yeah.
I hear public satisfaction with that very high.
I do
Both
too.
places, people say, well done, good job, government.
Yep.
Enjoy that.
Yep.
We saw the Eisenhower Middle School, Upper Elementary School, I guess is the correct name, funded with a bond issue that received enough votes to pass and a good majority, and I hear things around the community, good job, well done.
Yep.
And I think part of the people are saying good job, well done, but it's not done yet. So I think they're saying good job, well sold. I think they're applauding the school district and the citizens committee that took that message to the public saying, you convince me, I'll invest in Abilene schools.
Yep.
That's a healthy process. The county had a bond issue to pay for roads and bridge reconstruction and maintenance. And they also went to the Senior Citizen Center, the local co-op, and every other place you could stand a speaker up and talked about why roads are an economic investment for Dickinson County and what difference it makes and what the costs are, and received enough votes to pass.
Yep.
And I hear people out in especially the people who now own semis hauling grain to town going, good job, well done. We needed this. In fact, we need a little more. Some of these old bridges are kind of rickety. So,
well, and back to our previous discussion about property taxes, you have to, some of those things are going to be coming off the tax rolls and the bonds are going to be taken care of. And I think once we clear our plate a little bit, there may be some things in the future. Of course, the police department being one of those things that needs. If you've been in that facility, it needs.
Sure.
It needs an upgrade. Those guys need better working conditions and safer working conditions for everybody involved. But on the plus and on the good and the bad side of that, but But it's just a matter of timing, and until we get some of these other things off the plate, I think it just makes it a harder sell.
I would guess so as
public.
well. We'll see how the public reacts. I know this, if you want to ask somebody for their money, you should do a great job of telling them how you're going to spend it and why.
Yeah.
I think the school district proved that, hands down.
Yeah. Well, I think people are becoming more cognizant that debt is not necessarily a good thing, and both on a personal level and a larger scale level. So I think you get some of that cleaned up, and they'll be more receptive to future ideas.
Well, James, our time on camera today went by just as fast as 2015.
As it always does, yeah.
Like a blink.
I've got half a dozen more things I want to mention.
You're out of time. You're going to have to schedule me in to come on Abilene Means Business. I could be your guest.
Okay.
I've never really been a guest.
You haven't been?
No,
have
I'd
you?
like to be a guest.
Well, yeah.
Gotta be fun. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Thanks for all you did in 2015 to make it great in the Abilene community.
2016 is going to be a good year.
2016 is going to be even
Everybody's
better.
working hard.
We're looking forward to seeing you on the street, in your business, in your home. Have a great 2016. For Eagle Communications, I'm Dennis Weiss. This is James Holland. He's the Executive Director of the Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce. Have a great day.